It's the crime that destroys the dignity of individuals and tears apart the fabric of communities. A crime that has been carried out for generations with impunity.
This year, rape as a weapon of war has been forced into the spotlight. Hello and welcome to the Nobel interview. I'm James Bays.
And I'm Foliba Thibault. Welcome to this Al Jazeera special from Oslo.
Just a couple of hours ago, here in Oslo City Hall, the Yazidi activist Nadia Murad and the Congolese doctor Denis Mukwege were awarded the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize in recognition for their efforts to end sexual violence in conflict zones.
Both have worked tirelessly to defend the rights of survivors, work that has come at a deep personal cost. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2018 Nobel Peace Prize laureates, Dr. Denis Mukwege and Nadia Murad.
Hello to you both, and thank you for joining us. A great deal of applause here earlier on during the ceremony. There were standing ovations for you two, so congratulations. If I can start with you, Nadia. Anyone who's heard your story, your ordeal of the last 4 years, it's very hard for most of us to imagine those things that you've been through. When you were here today, receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, who were you thinking of?
First of all, my mother. That was the first thing that came to my mind. I thought about myself, my body. I did everything for people, not for myself. When I think about that prize, yes, that's the violence that's happening, and that's the work I've been doing, and the shame that I have shown to everybody. It's for humanity, so that everybody see what has happened. I'm not just saying it for myself. If it was just for me, of course, I wouldn't be doing all the work. We are all one people. We are thousands of people that up until today have been faced with these difficulties.
Dr. Mukwege, you've treated thousands of women over the years at Panzi Hospital in Bukavu. What does this Nobel Peace Prize mean for those women and for the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo as a whole?
In fact, I think sexual violence has always been denied in our society. It mustn't be the victim that bears the suffering of having been raped. There must be that through this recognition that we must be able to change this suffering of the victim and turn it towards the aggressors and the torturers.
Nadia, you said that you felt the world abandoned your community. The Yazidis are one of the smallest and most persecuted minorities in the world, and they were almost wiped out by ISIL in 2014. Do you feel that this Nobel Peace Prize will bring back the focus on the plight of your people? Do you think it can achieve justice for the Yazidis?
For 4 years, we see that the rights of Yazidi people have not been given to them. But we have not stopped our efforts. The Nobel Peace Prize is helping us. Yes, we are talking here, but up until now, 3,000 women and girls of Yazidi, of my village, of other villages around my village, are still in the hands of ISIS, are sold, are raped, and we don't know what their situation is and what it's going to be. We are doing a tireless work. We hope that very soon we will be able to see justice taking its place.
Denis, you've heard Nadia tell her story. You heard it again today. You've heard thousands of similar stories over the years. Now, I know you are a doctor. You have to be professional. You have to be dispassionate. But when you hear these stories inside as a human being, does it give you anguish or is it just anger?
I think that even if you are a doctor, you remain a human being. And when you find yourselves in this humanity that you share with the victim of or the patient in front of you, there are sometimes things that will make you angry, because I have difficulties in understanding how an adult can destroy a child, how after having raped somebody, which is very serious, and then furthermore introduce objects to destroy the genital organs. I think you feel that you're in a state of anger because you do not understand how, on top of rape, somebody can apply this torture.
Nadia, we see you together today, two different people, different ages, different backgrounds from different parts of the world, but with a shared message. You're together here in Oslo. I'd like to know, have you met before, and how did that come about if you have?
Yes, we have met before 2 years ago in Paris, and he was planning to help me and help Yazidi victims in Iraq, and he did, and he still did to help the Yazidi victims in Iraq.
So you're not just Nobel laureates, you're friends?
We are friends.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just questions coming from us here on the podium today. We've got our audience here in Oslo City Hall, and they've got questions too. The first one of those is from Madeleine. You are a master's student. Can you tell us your question, please?
Sexualized violence against girls and women has been used as a weapon of war for a long time. Why do you think this hasn't been brought forth as a big issue on the world stage until now?
I think that today more and more women are speaking, which is a wonderful thing and needs to be encouraged. And I think that Me Too, breaking silence, all these movements will help to make the cause go forward and progress.
Precisely on that, Nadia, you refuse to accept the social codes in many cultures that require women to stay silent and ashamed of the abuses that they've been subjected to. Why did you decide to speak up no matter how hard? Why did you decide to be a voice for the thousands of Yazidi women?
Of course, I felt shameful from day one. Up until today, I still feel shameful about what has happened. Me and many other Yazidi girls. After we were somewhere safe, such as Germany, we wanted to raise our voices because this will continue with all the women. But if women and girls don't allow to do that, and this is going to be a weapon of war, if we don't use it today and don't speak up today, tomorrow this will continue.
Well, we spoke to one of the thousands of victims that you've treated over the years, Dr. Mukwege. Kanega Mwamini Aline was taken by militiamen in eastern DRC in 2002. She was held for 6 months and raped repeatedly. She managed to escape and ended up at Panzi Hospital. Here's her message to you.
After I was raped, I thought it was the end of the world because I was stigmatized. I was abandoned by everyone. I didn't think I could go back living in society. So when I arrived at Panzi Hospital, I was treated. Thanks to Dr. Mukwege, I made it, and everyone respects me again. Now I am a mother. I have 6 children. I have work and I continue to go to school. Papa Mukwege, I'm so grateful to you for giving me a new life. We were abandoned by our own communities, rejected by our families, stigmatized everywhere we went. So may God continue to protect you, Papa, because you have saved thousands of women, including myself. Good luck in your fight. Good luck in your struggle.
Denis, one of the appalling stories, but with a very uplifting message at the end, thanking you for the work that you're doing there at Panzi Hospital. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more of what happens after surgery and what you do to try and heal these women and then reintegrate them into a society where rape victims tend to be stigmatized.
The medical treatment for the victims of sexual violence is a small part in the treatment and the handling of victims of sexual violence. When we started, their psychological trauma was so strong that they could not continue a normal life, and so we included psychological handling. But when they're excluded by the family, by the community, by the husband, if you leave them in the street, they will be raped again. And so we must be able to support them so they can be reintegrated into society. And finally, when women are reintegrated into society, it is at that moment that they ask for justice.
You, Nadia, are engaged today. Congratulations. And your fiancé is here with us in the audience here in Oslo. How were you able to survive your ordeal and build a future for yourself?
What the Yazidi people have done is something huge and enormous. They have accepted what has happened when we returned. And all the married girls that went back were accepted by the husband with honor, and they were accepted, and we could see that many of these girls could actually get married. They have given birth to children. And I didn't know that I would have a beautiful life one day again, that I would have my own family one day. And I have a fiancé now, and he's also Yazidi. And he knows everything. And that was the difficult aspect. But he knows exactly what has happened to me more than anybody else in this world.
More questions from our audience here in Oslo City Hall. And we have with us two business owners who also work on a project to prevent gender violence here in Norway. We have Felicia, who originally was born in Liberia, and we have Sultan, who was born in Turkey and is Kurdish. And you have two related questions, so if you could give us your questions.
Yes, what would you say to men across the world that are being reunited with women who have been raped?
What are the most important ways to support these women?
Men who rape are not true men, and a true man is someone who can talk to a woman and who does not rape her and respects her. That is something men can do. Women have done a lot to conquer sexual violence, and it's time for men to be engaged, to commit themselves.
And Denis, while we're on the subject of men, one aspect that really is underreported in conflict zones and in your own country, male rape.
I think that the big problem is that when rape is used as a weapon of war, we try to use all the means that allow us to dehumanize the other person. And I've known and I've looked after men who've been raped by men. It is a specific armed group that thinks that the best thing to do is to rape a man before his wife, before his children, and to humiliate him before his family. And I think that this attitude is simply an attitude of war, which I also just as bad as the raping of women.
Nadia, you mentioned in your speech today, and it's believed that some 3,000 women still remain enslaved by ISIL 4 years after they swept into Sinjar. I know your dream is for your people to return to their Yazidi homeland, but what do you tell to the women of your community who've had children from ISIL fighters and who don't want to come back, who are afraid to come back? What is your message to them?
My message to these girls and women It's not your fault, it's not the fault of the children, that's the fault of ISIS. And the girl, Yazidi girl and Yazidi woman, no matter what has happened to you, how many children you have from ISIS, raise your head and go back. For every single Yazidi person, the doors are open and we are looking forward and we are waiting for you. It doesn't matter if it's one child, 10 children, as long as you're safe, come back.
Thank you.
And back to our audience, Jordanella, who was born in Dr. Mukwege's same country, a Democratic Republic of Congo. You have a question.
Yes, first of all, Dr. Mukwege and Ms. Murad, thank you for all that you do, for being so brave and for never giving up. So what do you believe the international community should help to address these human rights violations and to support those fleeing sexual violence?
Those fleeing sexual violence, that brings the whole problem of migration into this, and we're in an international atmosphere of growing nationalism and populism. You just have to look at the most powerful country in the world, Nadia. President Trump doesn't have very good words for migrants. What would you say to Jordanella's question?
Look at me, I'm one of them. I ran away. We want to have a safe life. That's the reason we're leaving our country. My expectation is to look at these people. They're running away from atrocities. They want to be in a safe place until there is justice in their home country.
So, Nadia, we wanted to find out what life is like today for your community, the Yazidis in northern Iraq. And we went to northern Iraq to find out about the current situation that they're facing. Today, the vast majority of Yazidis are living in camps for the internally displaced. Al Jazeera's Rob Matheson visited one in Dohuk. Here's his report.
Khalida Al-Yas is one of thousands of Yazidis once driven to the mountains of northern Iraq ahead of an onslaught by ISIL in August 2014. Khalida lost 37 members of her extended family.
ISIL had no mercy. We were told that my family had been stopped at an ISIL checkpoint. The men were killed and women and children were taken.
Reports of Yazidis dying from lack of food and water huddled together on bleak Sinjar mountain finally provoked other countries to take action. Western helicopters dropped supplies. The US joined the fight against ISIL. The threat may have receded, but Yazidis say their struggle to live continues.
It's estimated there are between 500,000 and 1 million Yazidis in the world. Most of them are here in northern Iraq, and many of them live in camps like these. They say they've been persecuted for hundreds of years because of their religion. They say there's part of their religion which is misinterpreted. To the Yazidis, the ferocious attack by ISIL in 2014 was just another attempt at what the UN describes as genocide.
Some aid organizations are still working in Yazidi camps, but global help is dwindling.
They think that the Daesh is over here, so they are concentrating on the other places. But it's not like that, because people are still living in the camps and they need food, they need shelter, they need a safer place.
Some Yazidis believe the war against ISIL isn't over and that armed fighters are living among them in disguise.
We're not expecting much from the world right now. It's not giving much to help ease our suffering. We feel left behind.
Yazidis say that as threats remain and supplies shrink, their battle simply to exist is being forgotten by the rest of the world.
The United Nations has established an investigative team to support Iraqi domestic efforts to hold ISIL accountable for crimes committed in the country. Karim Khan is the head of that team, the UN investigative team for accountability of Daesh, UNITAD. Thank you very much for being with us today. Please stand up. I have a few questions for you on the work that you're doing. Now, the resolution that established your team was adopted over a year ago, but I understand that you haven't actually started any field work in Iraq. What is the most urgent priority right now, and is enough being done to preserve the evidence of ISIL's atrocities in Iraq?
Well, firstly, I think we have two remarkable laureates today. And I think their speech that we heard this afternoon is one that repays re-listening to, because there's many important lessons there. Justice, perhaps, is too glib a phrase. Justice requires that the acts don't take place in the first place. And that requires a larger conversation. So we actually give life to the promise that we've heard since Nuremberg of never again. What we're trying to do is accountability. And that is an arduous process that requires proof beyond reasonable doubt. But we have the political will behind us.
Nadia, let me bring you back in. There's a new government in Iraq, finally. Are you hopeful that it will mean change for your people, a brighter future for your people, perhaps?
The Iraqi government is new for more than just a month now. Our hope is that the Iraqi government will give more rights to the Yazidi people so that we have more respect and more honor in Iraq.
Nadia, this subject you've put on the world stage today, the Nobel Peace Prize, you speaking at the UN Security Council, at the UN General Assembly. This is something new. The world is talking about this issue. But how do you actually stop those rapes, those attacks by those men on the ground? Things that have been going on down the centuries.
Every individual person I have met, I have told them what ISIS has done. And they didn't saw that it was on such a big scale. Rape cannot be stopped, as Dr. Mukwege said, until we give them the rights. We need to have the equal rights for girls and boys.
Denis, if I can ask you to pick up on that. We've talked about the accountability. You've done your bit putting this in the international spotlight. Everyone is aware of the issue and focusing on the issue. But what else is needed to stop crimes that have gone on? You can go back in ancient history and they talk about rape in war.
When the world becomes aware that this weapon of rape in conflict is a weapon that destroys not only the victim, but even future generations, because I can see that in DRC, I can see the child being born, who's born after a rape and who catches HIV. This child can be a generation that will suffer not only from rape, vertically speaking, but horizontally, all the infections that can be caught lead to additional victims without... What about the injuries vertically and horizontally? If we become aware that we can fight this weapon and that now we can have campaigns, as we've done for chemical weapons and biological and nuclear weapons, we can reach a level where any person who is involved in a conflict knows already that if he uses rape as a weapon of war, there will be no country that will accept me or that will collaborate with me. Psychologically can make a difference, but today we feel very well that the world is not fully aware that it is a dangerous weapon.
This has been a very difficult conversation, but an extremely important one. Can I thank you both for sparing us your time on what's been a very tiring day for you. Denis, thank you for your lifetime's work. And Nadia, thank you for your incredible bravery.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mukwege, Nadia Murad. Thank you to our audience here in Oslo City Hall for being part of this very important conversation. And to all of you at home also watching, from me, Foli Batibo, and the whole team here in Oslo, thank you very much.